Welcome everyone to this session on textbook affordability and open educational resources. My name is Carol Hickson. I'm the Dean of University Libraries here at FAU. Now, anyone familiar with the state of Florida's performance metrics knows that one of the ways that universities within a state university system are held accountable is on the cost of the degree to students. And a large part of that cost is textbooks. So the state's put some guidelines in place on textbooks. And it's also now encouraging both library services and distance education components of the Florida Virtual Campus to work to promote open educational resources. Now, open educational resources, as I understand them, are commonly understood to be freely accessible, openly licensed text, media, and other digital assets that are useful for teaching, learning, assessing, as well as for research. Now, long before the state of Florida discovered this issue, students, such as the Student Public Interest Research Groups and various professional organizations such as the American Library Association, College and Research Libraries Division, and the Research Libraries Association, just to name a couple, have been advocating for ways to reduce the cost of textbooks and to develop more open educational resource content that could be assigned in classes in place of traditional textbooks. Now, this issue is one of great personal interest to me, and also Jane Strudwick, the library's Director of Scholarly Communication, has been working closely with the Center for E-Learning and the Provost's office to find ways that we can promote the use of open educational resources at FAU and reduce the cost of textbooks. So this session today is one representation of our joint efforts in this vein, and I'm going to turn things over to Jane Strudwick, who's going to introduce our speakers.
Hi. Well, I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell you what areas they come from University of Central Florida. There's 5 of them from UCF, and it is a collaboration with instructional designers and librarians, which we're very interested in. And we're very excited to have them. It came about one of those virtual hallway conversations. I was at a conference call with Sarah. It's like, hey, Sarah, can you stay on? Because I like that presentation that you guys did. Do you guys want to come down? So they shut down here, 5 of them, and they're here to talk about their efforts at UCF. And I'm going to have them, again, introduce themselves and say what part of the university they're from, library or instructional design.
I'm Sarah Norris. I'm our scholarly communication librarian, as Jane mentioned. So I'm in the library, and I work a lot with copyright with the OERs and affordability issues.
I'm John Raible. I'm an instructional designer at our Center for Distributed Learning. I've worked with everyone here from trying to find the content to manipulating the content and trying to work with the faculty member of what is that finished product and providing that unique experience or that uniform experience to the student.
I'm Rich Gause. I'm the Government Information Librarian. Been working on campus with faculty senate, whatever, from before 2008 with the original law, dealing with textbook affordability issues. So I've just always had a natural interest in this.
I'm Aimee deNoyelles. I'm also an instructional designer like John at the Center for Distributed Learning. I'd say my main role here is to do presentations and reach the faculty outreach side of it, and also incorporating a research component in order to see the effectiveness of the classes that are using OER and student feedback and things like that.
Beile, Associate Director for Research, Education, and Engagement at UCF Libraries, and they keep me here for comic relief.
Yeah. I was wondering why you're here now. No, right?
Jane said the 5 of us shut down, and we did, and we worked so closely together for right at 2 years now. And I can't say enough for this working group. We'll be at the September Summit. We're going to go to the OpenCon conference in Anaheim in October, and we're getting requests to talk about our model, and I'm so gratified to be here, and especially pleased to see that there are more than just librarians here. So you heard who we are. I don't know if we have time to go through and do all the introductions, but I'd like to at least know how many IDs are here. Allison.
Instructional design.
Yeah.
There are a few others that are going to be joining us.
Okay, and we know we've got some people online too.
I think there's more to our unit than just instructional designers. So we have our media person here. This is our assistant director for e-learning. I'm sorry, director.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
my assistant. I always say he is. He's my right hand, and then I'm also the assistant for those 3 months. So I just like to long impression that our instructional design team is not here, just because we're not instructional design.
Right, thank you. And then we have faculty.
I was wondering if we can make a practical suggestion. Why don't we move a few chairs to the other side, then you all can sit down as well.
Okay.
I mean, it's a
Would you feel more comfortable? Because I can switch it to a presentation thing. Yes. Thank you, Marcus. Why don't you introduce yourself, Marcus?
Thank you, that's a very nice suggestion.
Oh, I'm just a good member. I'm here to see what we can do about reducing expenses for our students.
You are our main audience. Thank you very much. Do we have another faculty member here? Where are you from? Or from?
I'm teaching class and I'm an artist, art teacher. And art in elementary school, drawing and artist.
They had a pretty successful implementation of OER with the art faculty at Rollins College, which is close to us in Orlando. And they did an interview with her to kind of help promote it more, on campus. And she said what she really liked about using OER or disparate, types of resources in her class is that it didn't, she found a textbook would flatten the conversation instead of open it. And I thought that was just a really beautiful thing. And you're from math, you said?
Yeah.
Well, we'll probably touch on that a little bit in one of our models that we'll get to in a second, differential equations and calculus.
No. Math is not important because of differential equations. Math is important because of the golden rule thing. Every student at the university has to take a certain number of math courses. And this is where we exploit them.
Right.
We have them buy expensive textbooks. So these are 2 courses per student. This runs in the millions per year.
Right.
This is what brings me here. It's not the advanced math courses that you use in your research. It's the baby courses.
So is
Things are most outrageous in my opinion.
Right. If you can state, I don't know how, I know people be coming and going, and you're perfectly welcome to do that. But we do have kind of an example that we've been talking to our math people about. And those 2 are the ones we've talked about, differential equations and the calculus book. But yes, they wrote back and pretty much said the same thing, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel warm fuzzies for our math people right now.
Yeah, it's UF, isn't it UF that's trying out, they've got this open source kind of math series that actually has somewhat like MATLAB and Alex, I think, attached to it. And they have said it's very, very successful for their UF math students. So I'm delighted to see you here and you're thinking about that, because if UF's model works, then why can't we adopt it?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the beauty of that OER too.
Yeah, so they're trying, and I've heard some really good stuff coming at meetings from that series. And if you want, I can see if I can track it down for you, or somebody can.
I think it would be great to send it out to everybody, and then maybe Jane can send it to us.
We'll make it work. I had heard things about the UF professors creating textbooks that were open to be shared with others. And then this was several years ago, but then I heard it had kind of decayed,
Right.
Because people were updating it. But the fact that you're talking about Alex, maybe it got revived in a different way.
No, this is not coming out of UF. It's actually coming out of, I think, Iowa State, maybe one of those. It's not coming from them. It's housed somewhere else.
Oh, so they're using
Yeah.
content.
Yeah, it's a math.
Okay.
Yeah, it's math. And like I said, they even have like the tutorial side of it as well somehow. So, and I think they might be enhancing it. It's kind of the feeling I got from talking to different people. But yeah, if we can get, and not just, not my opinion, that maybe MATLAB and Alex just don't work, kind of approach. If you have that many students failing, maybe it's not working.
Good comments. And then librarians, I recognize. Yes.
And FIU, librarian.
Oh, great. Thanks for coming. And anybody else in here? I know I see people who are probably students, so you're probably just interested.
Jump in the conversation.
Yes, you want
This is all for you.
It's going to be very informal discussion. We did pull together some PowerPoint slides to kind of keep us on track. And but if you've got questions or clarifications, just feel free to raise your hand or holler out, whatever you want to do. And I've picked up a few themes already. But do you have any questions specific about textbook affordability that you want us to kind of address, or anything? We can kind of wrap our presentation to that interest.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying that we can have the textbook posted in the library site and the students could go, is that what I'm understanding?
What we're going to talk about is 3 different models that we've used at UCF. And then every place is a little bit different. So right now we don't have faculty incentives where you can create your own OER, and leave it. Right now we don't have a print textbook collection on reserve, but a lot of places have that. So I think every model is different, and depending on what your class needs. What we've done is work very closely together, instructional designers and librarians, with our faculty to help find out what those needs are and try to meet them. And those are those 3 models we're looking at.
Sherry Edwards, virtual attendee, would like to know how the presenters define affordability.
That's a great question, because when Dean Hickson introduced us, it was talking about OER, and that's Open Educational Resources. And we've taken a little bit broader stance. OER can be reused, readapted. They've got 5 Rs. Jane probably knows if I don't. You just look at it. But we're also looking at reducing the cost of college education for the students.
We actually have a slide in here on our goals, but so my view is OER. Already existing open educational resources like OpenStax. We're going to show and tell. You want to get the book once again?
And this is an example.
Oh, this is the biology book.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the print version of the OpenStax.
Hand it to her so it's become on the camera.
Sure. For our virtual.
For our virtual people. This is an OpenStax. It's out of Rice University. It's grant funded. Gates, Hewlett, a few different entities have funded these, and there's a variety of really good textbooks. They're online. You can download them for free, PDF. They do have some instructor materials. We'll talk about that model a little bit. Just answering Sherry's question. So OER is 1. 2, we actually, existing OER, we might break open a book and create our own OER, and this might get more to what you were talking about too. But our 3rd thing, being a little bit more broad, we're defining ourselves as textbook affordability. So we use a lot of library sourced information as well. And that's not an OER proper, but it's either free, it's free to the student. They don't know, we've already paid for it. They don't need to pay for it twice. Kind of thing. Anything y'all would add?
No, I think
The question, it's still forming kind of in my mind, but so would you say that, for example, if the textbook was $25, would that fit in your definition of an affordable textbook, or are you attempting to eliminate costs altogether to the student?
Our goal is not to eliminate costs. Ours is the lowest possible cost. If that cost is 0 and it still makes pedagogical sense, then that's great. And then one of our examples with our OER, we'll talk about how we have OER for about 90% of the course, but then there was this one crucial text that needed to be purchased that we couldn't get a license for. We couldn't find another translation for, so the students still had to purchase it. So it wasn't a 0 cost course, but it brought the cost down dramatically. And we, at the university, we don't have a particular dollar mark. At least our group hasn't defined it. We haven't heard anything from administration of this is our price point. But yeah, we're trying to get it as low as possible. So,
and it was your group that defined this when your group got together.
Yes. Yeah. Like for instance, everything that we've done at UCF is bottom up.
That's, yeah.
I may throw into this because it's similar at FIU, our FIU Online, who does most of the fully online courses. started about 2 years ago a program they call Affordability Counts. And you can apply to get an Affordability Counts badge for your course. And they picked a cost of $60. Because what they were finding, like you said, a lot of times you can get that OER textbook, but maybe there's a homework program or something that they need to get. And so, and we're actually even finding at the library that I'm getting calls from people going, look, if you can get me unlimited users on this book, I can make my Affordability Counts badge. So they're taking it really seriously, and it started out as a push to just the online classes, and it's starting to pick up in the face-to-face classes as well. I don't know how they came up with $60, but all they get is a little badge. They get a little digital image they can put on their course.
Is that even a badge?
Nope. And they could say mine was an affordable course. So the students, and there's a page, so now the students go and look for these affordable courses.
That's something we talked about.
Yeah.
So it's $60 for the course. Say for-
$60 for all, well, I'm
for
sorry,
all course,
I take
$60.
that back. It's $20 per credit hour.
Oh, yeah,
They're
that's a
allowed to
nice
do.
number.
So if it's
Yeah.
4, it could be $80.
Yes.
I take
It's
that back.
about $30. You don't need to
For this particular print book, the most expensive one is the history book, and it brand new, it's $52.
Yeah.
But everything that's in the print book for the OpenStax is available free online as a PDF, and you can for some of the books you can spend $5 and buy an interactive version for Apple iBooks. So, but they do offer the print version. I don't believe they make any money. I think they charge costs for the actual OpenStax books, and you can order them straight through the bookstore. They have an official ISBN, and they do carry them. And we'll talk about a little bit about our experience with OpenStax with the a little bit later on. But yes, they do have a variety of options depending on student preference.
But the vast majority use the free digital version.
Yeah.
Between $50 in the bookstore or digital, there's usually one student per course section that actually buys the book.
And
out of
sometimes
30 to 50 students.
I think sometimes too, it's dependent on financial aid. There are
Yes.
some students who do actually have to go buy their textbooks for financial aid purposes, so.
Yeah.
you'll see that
Or if
it works for it.
with veterans, that was one of the things is through either vocational rehab, through DR, or through GI Bill benefits. At UCF, we have a high population of students with previous military service and veterans, and so they have those benefits and they have money allocated specifically through that. So they have to go through the bookstore. So whenever possible, especially the OpenStax content, if there is a print version, make sure it's listed with the institution, because then financial aid can decide if they want that print book.
One more question. If this is out of the way now, if you could talk about peer review element, I know that some
Yeah.
have it and some don't.
Yeah.
So at some point, if not now,
Yeah, I'll
think about that.
talk about that when we get to the history one. And I think there was one other question.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say, and I hope that we can get into your meat and then come in with more questions
Sure.
and get into it.
This is, moving through, we don't spend much more time on introductions. This is kind of how we had it framed. We didn't know who would be here, who, so we just talked about kind of the importance of textbook affordability, and then dig down a little bit more into the environment of the landscape, the Florida state level, and on down into what we're doing at UCF. Show 3 models that we've used successfully, and then finish up with like other projects and goals. And just a real quick, how this ragtag band came to be together. We were so much better together because before then, again, I said this about 2 years ago, Rich had written a LibGuide, and it talked about textbook affordability and where you could go shop and use Chegg or this, that, and the other. And we got a notice, a takedown notice from our Office of General Counsel. So the attorney said, this is in conflict with our bookstore contract. And we've got,
God could be.
yeah. And like, no, there's legislation. Woo! Here, fix that for me.
There we go.
John, here, some techie person, take this over. And
And so we took it to the attorneys. It's like, there's existing legislation that says that we need to look at this. And they said the legislation is not written strongly enough to override our contract, the non-competition clause in the contract. And the instructional designers have been looking at an OER platform for their LMS, which we use Blackboard, right?
Canvas.
Canvas.
Yeah.
Same thing now, isn't it? And you all were asked to.
Yeah, we were looking at, I think, course.
It was Course Smart. It was Course Smart at the time. They've since been acquired. And then,
so we were interested in looking at the Course Smart integration into Canvas, which would usually tout the lower cost materials. And so we started getting into that, and then suddenly, we were asked that we needed to sign something from Course Smart, and again ran into this is in conflict with the bookstore contract, and you cannot, we are the exclusive seller, and therefore that can't happen. So that happened around the same time. Somehow Rich caught wind of it, I think, and then the three of us got together.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is
So it is an informal working group, but we've just done some amazing things. And again, no one's dedicated. No one has a percentage of an assignment to this. So, and then brings us through here fairly quickly. Why is TA important? Well, we see that there's different things that resonate with different constituencies. And so the students want lower costs. And when we tell, if we do a marketing campaign that says women learning, national level research says that you tend to make higher grades, you get to your degree quicker, there's fewer drops and all that kind of stuff. And students take more hours, so the institution actually comes out ahead. But with faculty, while we've got you two here, we've had one faculty member who uses a history OpenStax text talk about the competitive edge. So if there's 20 sections of this history of 1877 U.S. history, and he's teaching 2 or 3 of those students. The word's getting out now. His classes are filling up, whereas other faculty classes, those sections may not be. He's also seen an improvement in his CIP scores, and that's where the students go back and rate the class. Higher satisfaction there. And then at the institution-wise, we heard those initials PBF, performance-based funding metrics. As we look in here, lower the cost of a college education, better retention, all that. We hope to see some increase in our PBF dollars. And our IKM, our institutional knowledge management, people are also very interested in that. We'll get to that more in a second too. So Rich is going to talk a little bit more about that legislation, but first we wanted to ask, how important do you think textbook affordability is at FAU right now on those various students? And what we're going to do, instead of having the discussion now, just jot down if you want, and again, especially whoever's going to be involved, librarians, IDs, faculty, 1 or 2 ideas, what you're thinking. What might be, I almost look at SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So what are we doing well? What would we need to do to reach students? Do we think they know it? Is it on their radar at all? What about faculty? I've heard a lot of there's some faculty resistance because it takes time, not because they don't care about it. And then administration, how do you get buy-in from them? Is it already on the radar? Because now we have to do legislative compliance reporting and stuff like that. So, and again, we'll try to come back to these at the end. We're going to move through them fairly quickly. Rich is going to take over that Florida.
So, 2008 law required that there be a list maintained by the university of all your textbooks so that students could price shop. But it didn't actually say that's why it was there, so that was where we ran into the problem is, yes, there has to be a list with the ISBN and all the information so students get 30 days ahead of the classes starting. So students can actually find online options for buying book. But it didn't actually say that's why it was there. That's where we ran up the problem that we were talking about these other places to shop. Well, that conflicts, it's competition with the bookstore, so we had the takedown. 2016, the law changed. A number of changes. It expanded from 30 days to 45 days in advance of the classes. You still got the list. It expanded what was covered in terms of not just the required textbooks, but also instructional materials. Other materials are included in that you're supposed to be paying attention to that cost. The encouraging faculty to look at the different editions of the textbook. If you're requiring a new textbook, a new edition of the textbook, what are the changes? Are they substantive enough to require that students get the new edition of the book? Is one of the things they have to look at. And then the annual reporting that has to take place from the university talking about what they're doing to address textbook affordability. Now, this went into effect last summer. It was kind of hard pressed to get those reports in deep analysis for 2016. So the reports last year are not as complete as what I hope to be seeing in what is coming out now. UCS was just approved this last week in terms of the report to the Board of Governors. I don't think the FAU one has been done yet. I couldn't find many of the others that have been approved yet. But one thing for you to look at is, can you find what the status is of that report on textbook affordability from FAU? Where does it stand? The textbook list that's maintained, that's one of the things we're moving forward with in terms of having access to that textbook list, because we can't really do our analysis if we can't get access to that other textbook. So we're still working at the moment on a list from last year, with the assumption that the fall classes will have this textbook in them. We're moving close to getting the next list. Our list and a lot of the reports that came out from the different universities, they're looking at, okay, for your GED Gen Ed classes and large enrollment, looking section by section across actually the state universities, which have textbook costs that exceed a certain variance from the average for those classes. I think right now it's at $202 if a section has a textbook cost that is more than that from the norm for that class. Well, that's a huge number. So what you end up with the state reports coming from different universities is maybe 2 or 3 classes have that level of difference. What we're looking at is that opportunity below that in terms of the efforts we've been doing. We've saved $100,000, I think, on the projects we've done so far for students, but none of those are falling within that threshold. So it's a matter of discovering what can we do in terms of other education resources so we can replace a $100 textbook with a free open education resource. That's saving each student $100, but that's not meeting that institution level reporting. That's the law. The 2025 Strategic Plan for Online Education, the affordability of education had one goal that was right on target with this. Goal number 2 is the state universities will reduce the cost of educational materials for students. And strategy 2.1 talked about developing a statewide model for the use of e-textbooks and other open education resources to reduce costs for students. And one was to deal with increasing use of open access materials, and the other was reducing cost of materials. And if you look back at the March 30th, 2017 Governor's Board of Governors meeting, they have supplemental material in the agenda items and in some of the other reports where they're actually talking about recommendations. And so I'm looking at the reducing cost one in terms of catalog tool, creating a catalog tool that can be used statewide for identifying open education resources and other materials. I think that the implementation that's been delayed with the delay in the new ILS moving to Sierra next year instead of this year. So we haven't seen a status report of where that's going, but that's supposed to be ideally with the statewide library catalog would actually identify these resources as well in terms of findability. And then in terms of library resources, they said build on existing library licenses. Additional course materials can be placed in e-reserve university libraries for use by large enrollment classes. So I know USF has done where they purchased for large enrollment classes 2 copies of the books to have a reserve. I think they spent $30,000 last year. We're looking at a project ourselves to try and address that, to try and have at least copies of the textbooks available. And then the next slide. So think about what this is dealing with at FAU. And the next slide. So one of the impacts on the library, we keep desk statistics at our main reference desk in the library all throughout the year. And we categorize them. And so I looked at last fall, the first 4 weeks of the semester, and 35% of the questions were reference questions. The rest were like, where's the restroom? How to make a copy of how to use the copier, that sort of thing. But the reference questions that we reported was roughly 1,000 questions. And in that first 4 weeks, 30% of them, that's this blue sector here, 30% of them were asking, do you have my textbook? Can you look up my textbook? Now, it drops off later in the year, but we still have that going throughout the year. I think it's about 15% for the year, but it was 30% in that first 4 weeks. And we also categorize look up a book or article with a specific citation. So these are the ones recorded where we knew it was the textbook they're asking about. We know that some percentage of this other 30% is also going to be textbooks. So there's a huge impact just on your workload of what's happening. But that tells us students are actually looking for textbooks at the library. Yes.
Julie would like to know if they have e-text available to students in library or just hard copies.
We have, we don't have the e-text. We have reserves. We don't have the e-reserves in the library. So sometimes if they're using the textbook, if they're using a book that uses textbook, that's one of the things that comes into the issue. When you're looking at books through the library, if a book is generated, created, like Cengage or one of those, where it's created as a textbook for a class, and where it's really built around a class, the business model for those books is individual sales to each student in a class.
Absolutely. Yes.
So the library, it's extremely rare that you're going to find a textbook, a true textbook, that's going to be available through any model through the library. So we look at open education resources, particularly for those where it's actual textbook created as an open education resource for like general classes. And then we get into specialized classes where they're not really using a textbook for the class, where they're using resources, using articles. We actually start pulling library resources in for those. There are some books, like Sage research books, that we have through the Sage Research and Sage Knowledge. We've got some of those as ebooks that don't have any limitations on the number of simultaneous users. So when we're looking at purchasing books in the library to support this, if we're looking at purchasing an ebook, we often are looking at what's the pricing model for it. Does it have limitations on how many people can use it? I know one of the models is there's 325 uses in the year. And so you can do all 325 the same day, or you can scatter them out throughout the year, but that might be enough for a really small class.
Would that be unique? Unique users?
Unique uses, yes.
Just really quick, who's still doing that model? What vendor still uses that model?
The EBL.
Are they changing? I think they're changing.
They got something
because
changing.
They're really getting away from that.
Yes.
But yeah,
But
You can still buy books in that model.
you can't send it. Yeah, because it was taken over by another brand. Okay.
and sometimes what it does is, depending on what type of book it is, if it's a book where it's sort of a textbook, they're not going to do the unlimited library, but some of the things they still have to do it.
Okay, so we don't use EBL because, right? We still don't use it because of that issue. So yeah.
Yes. And ready for Aimee to take this.
All right. Now I'm scared after
Here,
Penny's.
they're off.
Some of the stats at UCF, so we've been talking about, or we're going to talk more about some of the case studies of faculty that are using OER in their courses. Each time we give a survey to the students, and so here are some of the very high level, at the end of the survey, we ask them just general questions. Have you ever not purchased a textbook because of cost? Have you ever delayed a purchase? So you can see these are the averages of all of the students so far that we've asked. So over half didn't buy a book because of it. Almost 80% have delayed it until they realize they have to purchase it, and then they finally end up doing. About a third have taken fewer courses. So that supports Penny's point in the beginning that it may take longer to graduate because of the cost. And then 28% have just said, I can't afford this course at all. And these statistics really do match up with a lot of the higher level national statistics about textbook costs. Oh, yes, and the FLBC state report as well.
How many students, roughly?
That answered the survey?
I want to say about 500 to 600 at this point.
Yeah.
Because
Your
we,
head count's like 50,000. Is it
64.
64?
Yeah.
These statistics are from the students that have taken a course where we've surveyed them that use an OER book, use a
Right.
library source
The
book,
models.
the models that we're going to show. And then we have some of these statistics broken down by course towards the end.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was just wondering why, because I incorporated the book, the ebook, into my face-to-face class.
And instead of the enrollment going down, the enrollment has gone up. And I don't know, I think I can't, the statistics, they have to pay $80, and there are all the other teachers don't use, only the online students, only the online teachers use the ebooks. I'm the only one face-to-face. So these students are willing to pay the extra money to come into my class. I don't get it personally. You know, I don't understand, you know, it doesn't match up here. I'm not sure.
So for instance, like
So it's $80 per book.
right.
They have to buy the book in order to come to my class.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they lose 15% of their grade.
But is the textbook for the online
Right.
course also $80 as well? So it's just the modes are different?
Yes, the same cost as,
Okay, so it's the
well,
same
they could
cost.
get a cheap book. They could get a $25 book or a used book in a hardcover or a paperback. But in my class, they have to go online. And my enrollment is at least 10 to 15 more students than the regular teachers.
So it sounds like they can only purchase it online for your course.
Yeah.
It's face-to-face.
Yeah.
And then the online course is also an online book, but it costs the same amount. It's the
Yeah.
Same books, okay. It may just be their preferences for
Yeah.
face-to-face.
Yeah, I
If
don't
the
think
cost
it takes
for the
away.
textbook is still the same for both modes, I would guess it's just a preference for the
And
face-to-face.
maybe-
You're the draw.
Yeah, you
Yeah, but you know, like, they're having to pay the money to come to see me.
Yeah.
There's also a $30 per credit hour fee for online courses.
Well, that they don't have to pay. 'cause
Right,
they're-
yeah, so it could be-
So your course is actually cheaper
Yeah.
monetarily,
Okay,
not necessarily, you know, they have to deal with parking and all of the campus-based activities, but monetarily, it works out for them in the end.
well, it's not a $200 book, it's an $80.
Right.
That's, yes.
Yeah.
And without having,
And that plays a big difference too,
Yes.
right? That
Yeah.
costs, an $80 book
Yes.
versus a $10 book versus a $200. That definitely
Yeah.
depends on what the students are taking and the price per course.
I would just like to end this conversation, it is about you, they're coming to
Yes.
you.
And I think we have to remember, please remember, and I try to remind people every time I go out to talk, that our students do prefer face-to-face. When they're taking online, it's because they need to. We may not understand what that need is, but they're pretty, I call it desperate. They need that convenience and flexibility. So it's, they will choose, and that's national stats too. It doesn't really matter. You could have the best online course ever, and they'll still say, I'd rather be face-to-face. So you just keep that in mind. I don't like to see those kind of comparisons being made for that reason, because yes, you are the draw, and they want to come to see you. And your course may be cheaper because the ebook is cheaper than the other book, but that comparison doesn't really make when you go online. Because remember, they're paying that $30 extra here to go online, so that means they really need to be online. All right, so here were our two overarching goals. Like Penny mentioned, we were not told
to do this.
to do this. We saw a need, and we decided to form two very open, kind of flexible goals at UCF, simply to create a campus environment more favorable to, so getting the word out, understanding faculty needs, understanding where some of our leadership is lying, just making it something that now we at least have a common platform to talk. And then finally, the other one, which I think is more common, is being able to promote OER and library source content. So we are opening up that definition a bit to reduce student costs. So we're not putting an exact price tag on it, just promoting the practice.
Also, we put ADA compliant in there as well because we've actually been a very good partner with our student accessibility services in terms of, they have an interest in this as well because they provide alternative formats for our students. So especially when we look at digital materials through traditional publishers, they're able to acquire those in an accessible digital format. But if a faculty member requires OER, then the onus is on student accessibility services and the faculty member to make sure that's compliant. So that's something that we want to stress during the selection phase and when our units are constructing these. That's something a very important part.
This is where we're gonna do another of our Showtime thing. We're so excited about this poster.
We didn't know how to deal with the prints technology.
We presented this at the ACRL Biennial Conference, Association of College and Research Libraries.
Bring it around to the front of the camera.
Okay.
It's a free panel.
Oh, it's a three camera?
What's on the?
This is what we- yeah. This is what we linked to, yeah.
But the main thing I wanted to show about this is, John mentioned student accessibility services, but you can look over here. These are our high-level campus stakeholders. Even though it was mentioned before that we worked bottom up directly with the faculty, there was no institutional mandate to do this. We have had very high-level conversations with the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning and the Faculty Center for Teaching and Learning and College of Undergraduate Studies under that. Been invited to a GEP redesign to discuss this. Accessibility services like John was talking about. Our campus bookstore, CDLs, the instructional designers. We've done some faculty workshops. We'll talk about that in a second. The library. But this one I really want to point out, business services. They're very worried. That's a good term.
Revenue stream.
Yes, about us doing this because I think, and John, correct me, we have about 12 million in textbook sales, and the institution gets a little over $1 million of that per annum. And they're just afraid of that revenue stream being disrupted. So we maintain a lot of communication with these people. We let them know what's going on.
Accessibility services has been nice bringing them in as a partner for the discussion because there's a little bit more teeth when you start talking about requirements to be accessible. And getting access to the bookstore.
Yeah,
The big thing is not labeled.
Oh, that's our metaphorical bear.
That's us. No, that's.
That's textbook affordability. So what you see is like our barriers to implementing, and then after our some of our successes, the bears kind of lost its teeth. It was kind of like you're winning the
I
200
thought that thing is the textbook seller. Those companies that sell the $200
That's definitely a barrier.
Yeah.
Besides promoting it to faculty, is there any kind of like financial incentive for them maybe to adopt one of these versus the traditional textbook?
We're moving in that direction.
Okay.
Right now we don't. So the people, the faculty who have adopted have done so out of just goodness of their heart, interest. And it's the one thing that librarians, instructional designers, and faculty can do to reduce the cost of the college education. We can't control the fees. We can do something here. And I think people are really starting to feel that. Okay. Enough of that.
You guys got the posters in.
So the structure of our organization, we talked about the systematic process, the institutional level. So we really zoomed out to look at where textbook affordability could work and what those barriers were that kind of in our way. So at our institution, we talked about kind of the division at our institution between the, almost want to say the business side of the house versus the academic side of the house. So notice at the top, the president, general counsel reports straight to the president. Administration and finance that houses business services, they go straight to the president. With, on the right, our division is instructional information, technology, and resources.
John and I are here.
And then the
and
library.
Rich and Sarah are here.
And then,
Business services over here.
right, so you've got basically a house divided on itself.
It's a paradox of higher education.
Yeah, so it's like you've got the, the business entities of the institution on the one side of the house, and then you've got the teaching and learning aspect on it. So we're trying from the bottom up on the teaching and learning side, and we've had successes, and we'll talk about those in a minute in terms of influencing the business side of the house, of making textbook affordability more palatable and legal at UCF. But we made this graphic because of just trying to show that representation of, okay, this is where we're coming from, and trying
It's a
to
long way
identify.
that you have to go.
Yes, yeah, we have to go,
Yeah, we have to go.
right, so, and then, so yeah, we just wanted to point that out. So our bookstore contract. We went in and asked for a copy of our book list at the bookstore.
Which is required by state law.
Right,
Years ago.
years ago.
We were very naive.
Yeah, we're very naive. Next thing we know, we're meeting with a regional vice president, and they politely said, no, you can't have it. Because in our contract, it said that they were the, it was their intellectual property.
And proprietary.
And proprietary
Sharon, what
information.
did you ask for?
A copy of our book list,
Just to see.
of our adoptions.
What were the books?
What were the books, like ENC 1101 used what book? You could look it up on their website one at a time, but they wouldn't give us a,
You can't get systematically the whole list.
right. So even though the people that resell across the street, they do public records requests for
I
it.
just asked Valerie at FIU, what was when you asked for the book list?
I asked for it and I was told, yes, I could get it, and I never got it. So.
But, yeah, so one of the things that we found out these by actually asking for a copy of the contract, because we wanted to look at what rules do we have to play by. And when we saw that, we were floored. So they are the exclusive seller. So that's what we ran into. You can't use external vendors, and that's what Rich ran into. They are the exclusive sellers. They own the book list.
I have a university resource, so I can't be used to reduce the cost to students through other means.
Right, that is in the current agreement. So talking about that organizational structure, we were able to actually, and Penny represented our group, our contract expires this year, so we just went through the ITN and the whole process to go through that. And Penny, if you want to talk to.
I think the main point though is that we had raised enough ruckus. I think we're just like a little bit of a thorn in the side. We haven't been too much of a maverick or too radical, but just enough that whenever our old bookstore contract it was 20 years old. It had not been looked at. It was just renewed every 5 years. And whenever, I think we kind of shook it a little bit, and there were some other things going on too, where they sent out to an ITN, but they met with us. They farmed out the contract writing to a bookstore consultant out of Massachusetts, Tom Byrne. I love him. They came down and literally talked to us for a couple of hours to see what we wanted to see in that contract. And it didn't matter who the eventual
Winner,
whoever the awardee was. We influenced the culture through our input into what they had. So now the institution owns the book list. They have agreed to be more favorable with our textbook affordability adoptions and efforts.
Just really quickly, when you said they came down to talk to us, it was your group?
Yeah.
Was anybody else
Yeah.
involved?
well, it was through business services, and they brought them around, and we had a specific meeting with them, and we brought language to the table from the, Aimee and I did a study of looking at all of the contracts around the state, in the state university system.
And you were able to get access to those contracts?
Yes, they're public record.
They're public record, right.
And we basically said, this is between Florida Polytechnic and USF, this is the type of language into it. And we highlighted sections and we gave them the language. And then I don't know how much of that actual language was incorporated. I haven't seen the new contract just probably got ratified yesterday at the Board of Trustees meeting, but they haven't made it public yet. We don't know how much of that language was
Unless it was
incorporated.
taken out, it's in there.
Right, okay.
But I literally read 1,000 pages of intense legalese, ITN documents this spring, and we had many meetings, and we had 4 different, not charrettes, but rounds of questions where they had to respond. And it was brutal, and it was so worth it. And I was the representative pretty much for us, but it included 1 student and 1 vice provost. So there were only 3 of us on there. So just they listened,
So,
to that.
yeah, so this was huge for us to try and get those more favorable terms.
I don't know what the next line is, but you want to talk about their contract?
I just looked up because we're coming down here. I think your solicitation opened in May for your books. For if you go to, I think your purchasing department, there was a solicitation for May this year
Oh, really, for the contracts?
for the bookstore contract.
I was just wondering, I was gonna say, they know that. Okay, well, you guys do, so for this May.
Yeah, it opened up in May.
Open up in May.
So the ITA or the conflict contract's probably already out there.
Okay.
But I don't know, I think it's an opportune time to see if you could see who's coming on and maybe even find out what was in the
Yeah.
invitation.
Yeah, we're in a
RFP.
state of transition right now with that because the university has had this group called the Textbook Affordability Committee, which has consisted of 2 or 3 reps from the bookstore and then 1 rep from each college who's typically the person who has responsibility for oversight for ordering the materials. And that committee's been in existence for, I think, 2 years. The entire focus of their efforts up to this point has been meeting the guidelines for when the textbooks have to be ordered. Nothing else. So it's a completely misnamed group, but that group is now being taken over by a different person in the provost's office. And I have been having conversations with her. So it's good to hear that our bookstore contract is up right now because that's one thing that I'm going to go back and push with her on. Have you seen the contract? Who's negotiating this contract? What kind of language is in it? Because what has happened up to this point from my observation as a member of that committee is that it's been how we keep funneling business to the bookstore, just do it faster.
The other side of that, in terms of the report, our efforts are not reflected in the most recent, the new
In the institutional
institutional
report,
report.
it's all information provided from Barnes and Noble.
Thanks,
In terms of ways we save student textbook cost is by having used books and doing
Yeah,
rental
use
books.
and rental, and that's all
But
that's
it's
in.
just focused in that area of how is it reduced through the bookstore, price matching. But you have to know to ask for the price matching to get it, so.
We have been asked to sit on the GEP redesign this fall with the intent of looking at some of those introductory texts to see if we can help reduce it. And then those efforts will roll in.
Hopefully for 2018.
Yeah.
But yeah, our new contract, whenever those terms are released, I'm sure we can send them down. And then that would take effect, I think, in November of,
And that's also a 5-year?
it's a 10-year.
It's a 10-year with your terms in there.
Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Like
As
you
far as
said,
know, as far- yeah.
We trust you, Penny, but we don't, I don't know anything. All Penny would say, I can't discuss that. But we know,
You can request an open record.
but it's with Barnes and Noble. It's out there. Barnes and Noble was the intent to award winner. They did make that public on our purchasing site. It's funny that they actually put our spring adoption information out there publicly in like PDFs and sideways PDFs and everything else. So, but anyways, so I just wanted to talk about that. So
Oh, good.
kind of the meat and potatoes of the presentation kind of, so basically the 3 ways: adopt an open textbook to replace a textbook. So basically a one-on-one substitution. Also determine that present materials are openly accessible through other avenues. That's kind of creating OER and seeing else what else is out there, or offer a library source item as a current replacement. That's also a one-to-one. So those are the 3 specific ways that we've worked with various faculty at the institution. So our first example is out of the history department, and that our faculty member, Dr. Jim Clark, he's a lecturer, and he did the one-to-one with OpenStax. So he's the one using that, the biology book, there's a history book. We gave the only copy we had to him, unless we would have brought it. But, so he came to one of our sessions at faculty development, came up to us and said, you know what? The North still won the Civil War. I don't know why students have to pay that amount of money that they have to for, that the North still won, to his recollection. And I think that is still the general consensus. So,
What's
yeah,
the civil war?
what's that?
Isn't it war between the states?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, the American Civil War in the 19th
So
century.
we don't know about a war that we don't see.
Oh, yes, the war happened a long time ago. So he's like, you know what, sign me up. And he teaches he teaches the second part of a two-part course. AMH 2010 is the European era all the way up to Reconstruction, and then he teaches Reconstruction till about 1980. So basically the OpenStax book, though, covers all the way from European colonization to the 2000s. So basically what I worked on with him is identify those chapters of the book that he wants. So he starts in chapter 14. So let me go ahead and just kind of pull that up.
While you're doing that, I think it's worthwhile to note that Jim Clark and Beck, the next example, found out about it because they attended a workshop that we delivered at a faculty system teaching and learning conference.
Right, yeah, it was, I think, the first one was Rich and I just talking about it in general. Jim came because he was interested. And
He was one of 4 or 5 people that were there.
Yeah. So basically,
Things like this we need to know.
Yeah.
Like what your successes are.
yeah. So basically, what I sat down with Jim and said, okay, what chapters do you want? There were about 32 chapters in the book. So he's like, give me from chapter 14 to chapter 30. So what I did is went to OpenStax. They have an editor that you can go through and remix. Everything is Creative Commons by license. So just attribution.
And good peer review.
And good peer review, yes.
We have
One
a
of
few
the-
people at UCF that have peer reviewed the books, so that's legit.
Yeah, so the Penny mentioned OpenStax earlier. All of the OpenStax are peer reviewed by faculty. They're written by faculty and then they're peer reviewed by faculty.
This one under Rice, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Floridians are much involved with OpenStax. Meaning the calculus books among credits,
Mhm.
Florida institutions teach it quite well.
yes.
Yeah.
And what's great is that with this Creative Commons license, even if they did make a mistake in a formula, you have the legal right to go in and change it. If you find a mistake in a publisher textbook, you have to write to them and tell them. Because if you change their copyrighted material, they're going to sue you. Or they have the legal right to sue you. They may not.
Bad times will ensue either way.
Yes, but that's the thing is like, even if there are errors, I tell faculty when I say, if it doesn't cover this, or if it, hey, if it's a controversial topic and you want to present it in a certain way, you have that flexibility.
Unless you've got the South one.
Yeah. But so we presented it to a few different ways to the students. They can buy that print version, because if they wanted to buy the print version and then take part 1 and part 2 in the same semester or concurrent semesters,
That's true.
then it's $50 for 2 courses. And then, or
Do they order that directly through the OpenStax and they?
no,
Or does the bookstore have it? Or-
yes, it's through the bookstore. If you go through the Faculty Enlight tool, that's what the Barnes & Noble ordering tool, or whenever they submit the orders, they actually carry it. And so it's actually in their OpenStax US history. That OpenStax is the author. You can look them up.
Johnny,
They have their own
they'll
ISBN.
order it directly through OpenStax.
They could.
They
There's nothing
probably-
that would stop them from
Right.
purchasing it.
But we tell them to do it through the bookstore because of financial aid and benefits and so on and so forth.
And they are
Because
the exclusives.
they are the exclusive.
We try not to.
Yeah.
Almost cranky at us.
Yeah, so we present a few different ways. If they want to download the entire PDF, or if they want to download it chapter at a time. I just want to quickly show you what what it looks like. This one, for instance, is 480. Well, I shouldn't have clicked on the whole thing. Let me go down and see. I'll just do chapter 5. There we go. So for instance, this is what, if you haven't seen an OpenStax textbook, they're all kind of formatted the same, but it's quality, it's very quality material. My undergrad was in social science education, and going through, I'm like, yeah, that's right. At least that's how I was taught.
It's
And then-
nothing insanely innovative, but a faculty member who's a little afraid to look at OER may be comforted by this. This is something that is not.
It looks like a traditional publisher text, but it is offered under a Creative Commons Beile license, which is the most open license that there is. All you have to do is say, hey, this is from OpenStax. And they take care of that because it's all watermarked. And then, or you can read it online as well. And they have like an interactive reader online, but we wanted to provide it for the students in the course, day one, zero cost. So that was the goal for this particular book. And if they did buy the print version, we did tell them the equivalent. So for instance, because it renumbers, so chapter 1 is chapter 16 in the print book, so on and so forth. So going back to the presentation.
You just modified the chapter numbers. You didn't edit content.
Correct. He took it as it is.
He reviewed it, deemed it fine.
Yeah.
But could have been.
Yeah, so he was in our 3, he was our second adoptee because he started last summer with 23 students. And then, so
He liked it.
so yeah, he liked it, so he ordered it for fall. And then, so he just wrapped up he's teaching it right now in summer with 52 students. And this is the faculty member that they changed the GEP requirements. His course is no longer required for the general education program. So this is the faculty member that is using this as a competitive advantage because all the students were going to Psych 101, pretty much. And then he started doing this because his numbers would normally max out. He's like, I'm struggling for students, especially for fall 2016. And then his numbers he started blasting and the students came back.
Is there a notation that shows that he's an open resource?
No, we don't have anything like the badge. No,
It's just a word of mouth.
it was just word of mouth.
Word of mouth, he asked us in Canvas, you're aware, but you can make a syllabus public.
Yeah.
So we did that form, sent him the URL, he sent that to everyone on earth, and it just.
Yeah.
Do you guys write up anything for him, like a little PR thing about a case study that you put out there?
Not specifically for him, but
We're not for students. There's an FCTL piece
right.
that goes to faculty.
Yeah, we haven't communicated directly with students yet.
But you've used this to try to pull in other.
Yes.
And I can't remember what that word is, diffusion models, I don't know, where there are other faculty now who are adopting this based on his success.
We've had 2 other faculty members in the department.
Oh.
We've sent it, he did a presentation at his department. His chair knows about it. So it's starting to, this book is starting to catch on with the GEP court versus his department. Do you have a question?
Yeah, is it the instructional designers that are working, or the librarians, or the combination, to be able to determine what's available in OpenStax with the
Good question.
professors, and then who's actually putting it into Canvas and doing all that manual work?
John Raible.
That's me.
Put all
me.
the stuff in.
So basically we send whenever we do talks or promotions, we send the list of the subjects that are available. OpenStax is geared towards the GEP courses. So algebra, sociology, biology, physics, calculus, so on and so forth. They're geared towards those. So it's like we're almost hitting it from 2 different levels. We're hitting the lower level divisions with OER content, and we're looking towards the upper divisions with more library produced or library sourced content. So we've kind of had that dichotomy going on.
That next example, I think, would be a really good one to go through the workflow a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, that'll really show
Because
it.
that one's kind of.
Very labor
Question.
intensive.
Yeah, question.
Alexis Carlson wants to know, how did you make his ancillary materials, PowerPoints, etc.?
So for instance, with this particular course, it was offered face-to-face, so he used his existing and modified, he modified his existing materials a little bit, and then we tried we imported the OpenStax questions, but they were terrible because they were outsourced and they didn't. The questions weren't based off of the text. So he complained a lot to them and then wrote his own. Yes.
Can you give a definition of what you mean by library produced
Oh, sorry. I meant library sourced.
or library sourced?
So, for instance, if it's something purchased, if it's something that the library already has or has licensed.
And
So
you
library
use library
holding-
source. Is that what you use when you go out and you talk about the
Yeah.
differentiation between that library license, you library source?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because there's some that are continuing license or something that the libraries have purchased in perpetuity.
Yeah. And
So,
it could be something print too, so if it's
Right.
something that's
Right.
not licensed, that at least will indicate to a
I like
faculty
that,
member
library source.
that it's,
yeah,
it could be a print text that we put on reserve, and in the next one,
It's a
we'll talk a
catch-all
little
term.
bit about that, yeah.
Yeah, because I was struggling with that a little bit. And I was moving around with it, but
yeah. So far, he's had 546 students. His running total is $43,000.
Did you have
Over
a
4
question on that?
semesters.
Yeah, I was just going to go ahead and comment, so I'll get myself out of here. I took a class, graduate level class, and the professor, and I don't know how she came up with it, said our text was going to be a downloadable, freely available World Health Organizational
Mhm.
book, which it was, which I thought was really nice because that saved beaucoup bucks. Sure.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, there are sources like that that are not library
Mhm.
resources, but maybe freely available out of this.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that-
another option.
We're working as subject librarians with our faculty. We're looking at whatever we can find, whether it's out there on the
Yes.
web, is it in the library subscriptions. We're
public
incorporating some of those.
domain, the government
Yeah.
documents,
Freedom
all
from
the- yeah.
license, all that stuff.
So let me just ask the library folks, are you using things like Merlot and other databases like that to help you identify text?
Yes.
So I mean, that's part of what we have to, the toolkit that we have to get to our liaison librarians is make you aware of what the
Tools are, so that you know how to find the resources and help you find them.
When you talk about the library source materials, what is the mechanism to inform the library that these things are either already existing and maybe the rights have to change to unlimited simultaneous use? Is
That's
that-
our third example.
Okay.
If you can stay.
I can say it.
All right. Go ahead for that.
Otherwise, you'll never know, Ken.
Right.
That's some of the findings we pulled from the semesters, the survey. We have an ongoing survey, but majority, I think with this store, the first time that this course was offered with the OpenStax textbook, the bookstore bought 2 copies and 1 was sold. And I think the 1 is still sitting on the shelf for the previous version. So they used the digital versions, they read it from a laptop, even though we put instructions on how to use it from a tablet. We wanted to get as many options for the students as they can based off of their preference. So really good numbers of easy to study from and quality. So students saw it was quality. That's an important metric for to go back to the faculty with.
Alexis Carlson asks, have you received any backlash for using library money to buy an e-text? Do you have any hardline number to determine if an e-text can be bought with library funds?
Good question.
Today, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as we get in that third model of finding what library source materials we can use. I don't want to give away too much, but we ran the book list against our library holdings and identified items that were already unlimited user DRM free. And so we didn't spend money. It was like what we already had. But then we also recently got a $30,000 stipend from our acquisitions and director saying, now let's go out and see what we can buy. And I don't think that we're going to get any pushback at all. When we go to buy the print reserves, we're going to offer that to the provost first for funding to give him the first right of refusal. After that, we'll go to SGA. And then finally, we might be able to put like 10 or 20,000 of our own library money to it if we can't get that done.
On that one, the history book that you showed with the PDFs, is it printable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're printable from the PDF, or you can buy it already bound in a book. Especially for the face-to-face versions, I put in resources where you can go print on for free on campus. Students get 20 pages per day via SGA. So if you wanted to go print the whole book, you can print it in about 2.5 weeks if you wanted to.
Is there any sort of login where the instructor can determine if the student actually went in and looked at the book and that kind of thing?
Not in Canvas. It doesn't get that detailed. We are exploring kind of like an e-textbook platform, the Unison Engage system. We are going to try and pilot that in the fall, and they do have advanced analytics. But in the Canvas platform, no, but you would actually have to get it specifically into an e-textbook reader platform.
I want not to get too deep into the platforms, but with all the different open resources, what really do you guys see as the need for a platform, so to speak, for the ebooks as they kind of come as they are?
I think it's flexibility in terms of
Multiple devices.
printing, accessibility,
Analytics.
analytics from the faculty perspective, not necessarily, I don't think, from the student perspective.
Yeah.
And then our own research that we've done with surveying our students for over the last 4 years, they're not really interested in the interactive features as much.
Unless it's the instructor.
Unless it comes from the instructor,
Right.
but it's those
Some kind of
basic
the access piece for the students.
Keyword search, glossary.
and highlighting and bookmarking.
Highlighting and taking notes, being able to see instructor notes,
I
see.
those types of things that help reading and studying. And if that's not in a platform, I think it's not going to be as attractive.
On the admin side, tracking adoptions would be a good one too.
Yeah, and doesn't OpenStax, it has to adopt this text, but it's voluntary.
Yeah,
Doing it, but that's, yeah.
yeah, so that's why we try to push them to adopt it officially through the university. And so far, the history department is the only OpenStax formally book that we've seen adopted at the institution. Because I go in and search every semester, and it's only been those courses at our institution.
The other piece that have come up in some of our conversations is usually when you have an online class, your ability to access the class is only during that semester that they're taking it, right? So if you have a book that is being hosted on Canvas, Blackboard, and those students move on, it may be available on OpenStax, but if the professor's altered it in any way,
Right.
they won't necessarily have access back to that unless you have a separate ebook platform. So we've been talking about if we have faculty that alter it, maybe doing it in the IR,
Right.
so that they have
Yeah.
long-term access.
Right,
to
especially if
that.
the rights allow that. And the one thing with Canvas at our institution, the course is going to read-only mode, so they still have access to
Yeah.
those.
Ours, I understand, shuts down.
Right, so those are institutional factors, but then also they can just download the PDF. Once they download the PDF, they have the PDF to keep.
But I think that actually dovetails really well into the next case that we'll get to.
Just one quick question, and I probably missed you saying it. How are you collecting this data? At what point in the process are you finding out what the student's preferences and experiences are?
After it's been used in the course, typically about 2/3 of the way through the semester, we ask permission from the faculty member to put a survey in the course. It's been through IRB.
It's usually around after midterm,
Right.
so students are really settled, they've used the book for a while, and we have a survey, well, we have several versions of the survey through Qualtrics, which is a UCF licensed survey software. That's really onboarding there.
Just a housekeeping thing, we have the 1 to 2 presentation, 2 to 3 for the discussion, we're just gonna keep going. It's just because it's all one thing, but do you wanna is this a good time for a bathroom break, or do you wanna just keep going through?
Yeah, we can.
When people leave, start to like for 5 minutes. Yeah. Was it there, like, you want to get through the case studies and maybe one more case
Yeah,
study
what's
for
the
our
case study?
students?
So we're just gonna keep going, this is gonna be just one, yeah, and we can ask questions, okay, everybody's cool with that? Discussing as we go. Discussing
Yeah.
as we go, we're discussing as we go, okay.
Well, as Valerie was saying, I think this actually dovetailed really nicely into this next case study, making it accessible beyond just that course during that semester. And that's really what we did with this one. So we started out with this OpenStax text, really straightforward, right? Easy peasy, one-to-one, Creative Commons license, CC BY, super open and flexible. So then we had a case with a faculty member. This is an English lecturer that wanted to take their literature from a medieval literature course, make it openly accessible to students in a different way. So the textbook cost about $80, and so he wanted to take that content and make it open. One of our subject librarians started working with him to explore this. English can be a little tricky, right? We're thinking copyright. This can be a little bit more challenging with literature. Because this course was medieval literature based, public domain. Everybody in this group thought this was going to be the easiest thing possible, right?
Yeah.
We're like, this is great, public domain. This is going to make our lives easy. We can really create a cool OER that we can put in our repository, make it accessible, other people can use. It sort of turned out to be anything but easy. And so I think this is the tale of creating an OER specifically for a course. So the subject librarian, our ScholComm adjunct, John and myself started working with the faculty member trying to identify public domain versions of the text that was in this required text. We found a lot of different things, great sources like HathiTrust, Google Books, Project Gutenberg. Great, right? That seems like that's going to be a good fit. As we started to relay that information to the faculty members, some of the concerns were related to translation. So yes, we might be able to find it in this form, but he really prefers specific translations. And that's where the copyright really started to evolve and change for us. You know, he had, Beck had one where he was like, this is kind of the one I want to use. So Seamus Heaney's Beowulf. Completely under copyright still. There's no alternative.
2009.
Yeah, no alternative. We tried. And so that really, we were like, we don't want to affect his class and the efficacy of the literature that he's using by asking him to use a different translation. If this is really the translation that he wants, how can we address that?
Because he even said, well, no, I'll use the other
Yeah,
version.
we're
No,
like,
no,
no.
no. Do not settle just because it's free.
Yeah.
If that book was what, $10 new?
Right. Yeah, I think we ended up finding at $8 new.
Yeah, $8 new, 99 cents used on Amazon.
And we had a copy in the library, so we were able to use that and put it on reserve. So we had some sources for that. Then there was one other text within that had some copyright restraints, and that again was a translation. He ended up translating it himself because if he couldn't find another version that he was satisfied with, so he translated it himself. We put a Creative Commons license attached to that, and he was like, "Yay, I'm going to make this available." So that was a really successful piece. So that has really continued to evolve. What John did, I don't know if you want to share this on the reader.
Pass it around.
John actually took the public domain text, again from HathiTrust, Google Books, and literally transcribed that into an e-reader format. So we're not taking any illustrations or any of that kind of stuff because there really wasn't much in those scans, but took the public domain text and put it into the e-reader format for him. We also refer to library source content. So if we had a version of the public domain text that was available through a database, we would link to that. That has continued to play out down the road as well for copyright, and I'll talk about that in a second.
So, little technical, John, you just put it all together, CC by license.
Easy peasy.
You just got it together.
I heard the word transcribe.
The amount of hours that John put in, John deserves more than a digital badge.
So with this thing, I'll talk just briefly about this, and then I'll have Sarah finish her copyright story. So basically, there were 25 different readings that he wanted. The anthology was a 3-volume piece with, I would say, over 100. So we're like, okay, you're paying for content that you're not going to use. So that was kind of what we wanted to do. So very similar to what did for Jim Clark is we created separate readings or an entire PDF or an EPUB that can be used on a device. So we wanted to put the flexibility for students. If they wanted it mobile, they can have it native mobile. If they wanted it in the course that they want printed out, they can do that. If they want to go week by week, they can do that. So it's all getting the universal design for learning concepts of presenting the materials in a fully ADA compliant way to them. So for instance, the first one, here, this one's really short. One of the things that we found with all the different content from Project Gutenberg, Healthy Trust, various websites that we contacted and got permission from, was they're all different formats, all different crazy formats, PDFs, galore. So just wanted to, just like in an anthology, it's presented in a uniform way. So we went back to the faculty member and said, how do you want this presented? That was the real technical challenge. Basically, thousands of lines of, it's like there's poetries, there's plays, there's trying to figure that. So we basically made HTML pages out of these things. So we transformed it from PDFs and other sources over to HTML, and then we presented it in a uniform way, just as it would have appeared in the anthology. Yeah.
Again, going back to kind of the passion and commitment of the working group, we had committed to have that available for the faculty member for fall.
No, summer.
Summer. And then,
This was March.
okay, so how many hours did you take transcribing that to make that deadline? Because we weren't going to lose credibility.
Yeah, I don't even.
So many.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, I lost count.
Not
It
scalable.
was like at least a week. We noticed that it was, first thing is not systematic, not scalable, not sustainable to do this type of stuff. But we like to, especially for instance, I think it's the York.
Perhaps that.
Like for instance, like we had to present it in a very
hardware.
very concrete way, just as it would have been in the this. So this is kind of like our shining example. This has been used by another faculty member in another section of the course. So we're trying to get this to be, he's going to use it over and over, and actually for spring, when he's going to teach this course again, because he's on sabbatical in the fall, he had me switch out a few of the translations. He's like, hey, found some stuff off of Happy Trust. I want to use this one. Or so we're actually going to produce another version of this, but it's easy this time because I'm only doing 2 of them and not 25. So that's the real flexibility that he wanted with this, is like, hey, I'm tired. He wanted me to add in the Tempest. So throw in the Tempest, bring this one out. He's like, I'm tired of doing this one. Yes.
Alexis Carlson wants to know, are you sharing back to OER community?
Yeah, so that plays into our copyright redux here. So remember, we're talking, you have sort of 3 streams here. We've got content that's in the public domain, content that is copyrighted, content that is copyrighted that we have permission to use. So our subject librarian and our adjuncts were able to get permission from some sites that had public domain content that they had translated or done different versions of, and they were able to give us permission for that. So we have sort of 3 streams here. Obviously, the copyrighted content that we don't have permission for can't be included into a formal OER. But what we would like to do is share this in our repository, something Valerie was talking about. However, that has led to some very interesting conversations with our Office of General Counsel. So as you can recall, the Office of General Counsel, Rich was talking about the exclusivity clause with bookstore contract. So our Office of General Counsel has some interesting interpretations of OERs. Who owns it, right? Because John put so many hours in, because
University resource.
we're university resource. So is this a work for hire situation? The faculty member did not create this on their own. If this faculty member had created the whole thing, retranslated everything on his
Article
own,
18 of the CDA.
this would be research. That would be personal research. Of course, he would own the copyright to that. He could put it into the repository, no issues. But because General Counsel is aware that we as university resources have been putting in so much time, and we don't have a policy on ownership in our CDA, who owns this? So I've been spending a lot of time over at Office of General Counsel, one, sort of having conversations about what copyright clearance is in an OER. So explaining to them that Hockey Trust, Project Gutenberg are public domain content sites, right? So we talk about that. So right now we're going through and looking at every single one of the works to make sure that it is either completely public domain or we've gotten permission for it. Subsequently from there, OGC wants to then talk about ownership. Again, considering this work for hire because we want to make it available. We obviously want to put a CC license in it. And is there anything that the institution could even claim ownership of? We've had some meetings previously with another faculty member who was considering creating OER. And the university sort of said, well, gosh, we kind of really can't claim ownership of things that already have a CC license attached to it because somebody else already owns it. So it's really having that conversation with general counsel and getting some sort of resolution so we can make it available. I am very confident that it's going to be able to be put up into the repository, that the institution really can't claim ownership of something that already has open licenses attached to it. But it's been very interesting for us because we didn't really anticipate that.
Do you know if that's been addressed with other universities, the IP aspect of it and the CBA and?
Well, with the IPs, each institution has their, like Florida has a very strong pro-faculty intellectual property, and this falls under the work section in our CBA, which is still all the template language from 10 years ago when the UFF kind of broke off into the local chapters. But that's something we want to address. We do full book next year. So all of us are 12-month faculty up here. So that's something that we're going to try and push to have this type of language included in the CBA.
Now, the one work that he translated,
Yes.
done translation,
That's not an
That's
issue.
good. That's why he can put his own
That's why he can
license.
put that, that's not an issue.
Yeah.
it's that collection.
And again, it's having that conversation with our general counsel just to not only get their perspective, but also to educate them about what OER, what they are in general, because they were not as aware of it. And they're definitely risk adverse. You know, they feel a little uncomfortable with something that's a little bit more open and they're not sure what it is. So we're dealing with a little bit of that.
So am I correct then, this is only residing in the courses right now?
Correct.
It's
As of
not,
right now.
it's not
Yes.
part of your institutional repository?
The
Correct.
intent is to put it.
The intent is, but
The intent
it's
is to put it up there and that's what we're trying to do.
Is it only posted in Canvas or is it
Correct.
also posted on
no, it's
on
only,
any of your computers or anything?
well, we have it because we worked on it. It's on our internal network where we put all of our other course materials that we work on, but it is not publicly accessible. It's password protected. And then this particular file only exists inside of the Canvas course.
Fantastic, thank you. I think another kind of slight corollary conversation off of that of ownership, not necessarily copyright, but if you go down that path and create an OER, is how do you get credited? How do you handle it? What's the title? Who's the editors? Do all that up front. I think that still hasn't been decided yet.
Right.
And then even other people who had some input into it.
Like the metadata aspect of it.
Yeah.
And that's definitely
It's like writing
something,
papers.
yeah, I mean, that's definitely something we learned from this process. We thought it was gonna be super easy to put this thing together because it was public domain and it did not end up that way.
And Marcus, you had a comment?
Well, the thing is this. I mean, I came here for a discussion on textbook affordability. And we are now, since 15 minutes, talking about savings in the magnitude of $15,900. I mean, this is a waste of effort. I'm sorry. I mean, if you look at what our students pay in for textbook, the baby math courses, I mean, everybody has to take them. So this brings, it's a ballpark estimate. This is about $2 million per year that our students are paying for textbooks. Now, why are they doing this? It's so easy for everybody. There are textbook sellers hovering around on our campus. I don't know how it's at FIU and UCF.
Yeah, the publisher
They are hovering around, and they are good. They are good. They know which courses I will be teaching before the chair has a chance to bring this up. Yeah? One of my courses, I had the most expensive textbook that was an option in my mailbox before I was even, before the chair told me that I had to teach this course. Yeah? I then decided to recommend another one, but that book was there on my desk, and when we had to fill in the textbook request, I only forget to copy the ISBN number. I mean, those booksellers, they are good. Yeah.
I think
The second thing is the resources that they are selling make it easy for the instructor.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Of course,
That's
they
a
come
great
with
point.
homework assignment systems. They come with all the secretive things that one can lure into which student is working on this. These are sold by attaching to the book an online access code, and so kids have either to buy the book new or purchase the online access code separately. So it is a win-win. It's easy for the instructor. It's a lot of money for the textbook seller, but it is a big financial loss for the student. So this is the second reason for the instructor why it's so good. It is helpful. We can really do a good job, those professional bookstores, textbook publishers. And the third reason is, why we really need to focus on this, and be clear that it is tough going. Not about the 15,000 where you have an instructor building, but about the 2 million where you have a whole bunch of instructors who benefit from the textbook sellers. The third reason is this, that there is a ton of money that they make. I mean, Elsevier has profit margin of about 30%. And this, they're not standing out in this one. So about this $2 million, 600,000 are profit, and some of this can flow back. So I was once, when I had a little event, encouraged to talk to textbook sellers, and they might have financed it. Yeah, so this seems to be a common thing. Maybe 10 years ago, I heard that a group of our instructors was invited to a conference in Washington, weekend conference, all expenses paid. Yeah, I mean, so there is money that benefits, and that benefits departments who teach students in the basic courses, which means that benefits departments where not everybody has a grant. Yeah, so people who are dried out financially and who badly need little money for their little activities, I mean, they can go to the textbook sellers and they provide this need as well. It is nothing from their profits. I mean, $600,000, we are not getting $6,000 every year for such things. But so it is peanuts for them, but it is very valuable for us. So this is what we are up to. We have students who pay millions of dollars for textbooks that are good and that are easy for the instructors to teach, but they are hopelessly overpriced as compared to open solutions. Yeah. So the question that I have is, how do we get into a situation where there is an institutional culture that supports? I mean, like the badge. I love the badge. I mean, it is wonderful. $20 is okay, but if it's more than this, the course is noticed in the pay. Yeah. So
Marcus, I'd like to know, because you're absolutely right, the publishers and the textbook reps make it easy for the faculty.
Yes.
And faculty time is valuable. So how can the institution incentivize faculty? What type of an incentive would compensate the faculty for the additional time it would take to find open resources? What's the incentive?
I don't know.
What would it be?
But see, I would work with carrots and sticks. Yeah, this is the carrot. The carrot is the badge. Yeah, your course gets a badge because
Okay.
it uses
Are most of your colleagues going to be incentivized by a digital badge?
Are most of your colleagues going to appreciate receiving a digital badge alone, nothing else?
I would use sticks. Yeah.
What
So-
about
so like-
what
like,
about financial?
if it's
What about
expensive,
financial?
if it's expensive, I mean, you have to file this somewhere. You need to, you write an email to someone saying, this is the book, I need this book for a particular reason. There are other choices, yes, but they are not ideal for my course. You need, so this is the stick that I would be using to help encourage an instructor. But I love the badge, so I really.
Now, this is, we get it in so many ways, because we're like, we're the ones that pay Elsevier for certain things. We understand there's something going on with the system, you know, with the OERs and the textbooks, and also for academic publishing in general. And our job as support staff and librarians is to incentivize the faculty, get the faculty, because they're the ones that are really going to have to change that culture. And that's what our discussions are about. And I think, Ethan, did you have a point you wanted to make?
I just have another question along those lines. I saw Dr. Beck is an instructor in this department. Is that a tenure track position?
No, so the faculty members that we've worked with, well, Lori is tenure track.
Tenure track. I don't know if
we've-
he's associate or
Yeah,
what.
most of the faculty members that we've worked are non-tenure
Do
earning.
you think
or-
that was a factor
Well,
in your experience?
No,
anecdotal,
yeah,
just
not after these last emails that went out.
No, not, yeah.
Yeah.
If you asked that question 6 months ago, maybe,
Yeah.
but now we're getting more interest from faculty in general, adjuncts,
Full
adjuncts,
professors,
full
department
professors.
program
Probably not a lot
coordinators.
of assistant professors.
Well, it's also
I
like,
don't think they have enough time.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
yeah, so.
You know, I had heard in a webinar, I think it was David Wiley at Lumens was saying
Right.
that why it's taken off so much in community colleges,
Oh, yeah.
because they don't have to do the research, they don't have to,
Right.
they're getting grants too.
Who's your bookstore provider?
I was like, is it Barnes? Is it Barnes? It's Barnes and Noble, isn't it? That's what I thought, but I was like, we're just like, it is
Well,
Barnes
mine
and
has an
Noble.
agreement with Lumen now. It's,
So do they?
yeah, I'm very, technical, we're going.
But we still hear you, Marcus, we're going on, but we hear you. We hear you.
Yes, I wish we could,
Some of you are very
I wish
much.
we could follow your passion to get to some of our other faculty,
Yes.
especially those who are in decision-making.
But it may not be enough. I mean, it is a culture that
Yes.
has to change.
Yes,
It is.
yes.
I mean, see, there was one situation in the department. I mean, calculus books need to be agreed on within the department because there are sequences of courses, and you don't want to force students to buy 2 books. So for the publisher, it is inconvenient if a book is used for over many years. Because then used books pile up, and students are not buying as many new books.
Right.
So what happens for maybe 2 years ago, the person associated to the book that we were using, Stuart was his name, Stuart Calculus, we may have heard it, he died. As a matter of course, and without any discussion, his book was stopped and another book was adopted. It then turned out this book was rubbish, so we had then a department meeting where we brought Stuart back in. Yeah, so we had 2 changes of the textbook, which means students could not buy the cheap versions that were around, but had to buy a new
Right.
So here's what,
So these changes happened.
here's one thing you can do right
As
now.
a matter of course.
This is good.
Yeah, here's one thing you can do right now, and I've had this conversation with a College of Education faculty member. Go to your colleagues and ask them, do you know how much this costs?
I do this. I have no chance.
Yeah.
I bring this up. I bought this $30 books from OpenStax, Calculus 3. You know, I'm showed them. Someone who is reputation makes a negative comment, and this is
We need to talk about Stuart.
He stands up in faculty senate.
No, he's a, I mean,
So there are so many benefits for instructors
Yeah.
for not doing it. One person standing up in a department meeting has no chance of changing the course.
I'm gonna go to Penny too, because I know you wanted to
I
get
was gonna
something
say
in
that,
there.
I think it was your second example, but one of the things that we found that's hampering our adoptions on a really wide scale, especially in the math field, is that
key access codes for the online
Yeah.
component. And that's where the publishers are one step ahead. They know what's coming down the pipe, and they're positioning themselves.
And as librarians, as we've seen things go from analog and go online, the publishers have positioned themselves. First of all, it was journals. How can they make more money on journals? They did that very successfully. Then it was, what can we do with ebooks to bring it back? Uh-oh, streaming video. And they find these ways to mutate and move around, and where they find more better. You've seen it before. It's having in textbooks, right, guys?
Yeah, it's a supplemental material.
Oh, do we know? Yeah, it's a supplemental materials. Are we ready to go back in, or?
So the,
We moved on to the next one.
Yeah, we
so
go
the-
into our final
Is this our final?
example.
Yeah.
Goes back to the library source item. And so in this instance, I work with Michael Laurie. I'm his instructional designer, so I already kind of had an in with him. When I did approach him, we already had a rapport, which was great. But it was found that the book that he's using was already available through the library, DRM free, multiple users. I sent him a note and just said, did you know that this was already available? He did not know that. And so I worked up a little bit of wording, put it in his syllabus, download instructions and the whole deal. And so this is, as you can see, this is a fairly new one. So far we've had the potential to save $27,000. And again, this is money that, the students have already paid into the library fee.
and we say potential there because we don't know if the student, we surveyed the students
Yeah,
and
we
asked,
asked what they did.
like, they still have the option of purchasing the print book, like the print book, or accessing the library for
Maybe
themselves.
it's based on enrollments, times the cost of the media. And they may have been.
Right. So we only have surveyed spring, summer we haven't gotten to yet. We'll look at those results later, but from the students that did report, around 65% used the digital, 23% did end up purchasing the print, and about 10% used both, which I thought was an interesting viewpoint. Yes.
So when we purchase ebooks here, we typically go for the one user license. So for this, did you have to change the license to unlimited or something like that?
No,
that's
already was.
It's already
Yeah, it
was.
Well, we have the DD, I think our DDA defaults to one user, and what we're trying to do, as you guys know this for librarians, tell us if you're, we can change that. We just have to know.
Yeah, we
as-
started there.
Yeah.
We already had that with there, so those were just the,
But that's kind of leveraged us off to thinking, okay, there are existing books out here. Rich has shown you that probably over 50% of the questions are, do you have my textbook, the reference desk? And so last fall, we did get the textbook list. We had to request it through a Higher Education Authorization Act. I met with the Vice President of Barnes & Noble, Brian Stark, and the Head of Business Services, the Vice Provost of Business Services. It wasn't a happy time. We found that we ordered over 12,000 items were on that list. We deduped it. John did a lot of the spreadsheet magic. And we found that we have about 5,000 unique titles assigned by our faculty on campus. Of those, we ran it against our holdings and found that we owned about 10% of those titles. So only 500 plus, about close to 400 were ebooks. Then we went and looked at, we filtered it by DRM free and unlimited users. We found that we had about 57 titles, but those were used by 74 faculty in 180 sections. The workflow on this, it was because we were working with our acquisitions people, there was some miscommunications, the subject librarians got the list and were just told to go talk to your faculty, and they didn't know what was going on. So we pulled it back, and over the last few weeks, I've spent probably about 40 hours sending emails to those 74 faculty.
Individualized.
In each one, individualized, you can say if you adopt supply chain management based on last year's enrollments, you can save your students $74,000 in one semester. Every single one was individualized and customized. And going in to see who was teaching it in the fall and getting their emails. And there were nights I almost cried. Sometimes you got like an hour and a half to write one. We found that we had the potential, this is where we're starting to see some ROI here, Marcus, that if every faculty adopted that, we could save students $800,000.
Just for those 57 titles.
Just 57 titles. But once these emails went out, a lot of people started writing back, and 16 people committed, 33,000 estimated savings. But these spin-off projects, I think, is where we're going to start seeing some huge ROI. Our public administration department said, heck yes, thank you, we will adopt. By the way, will you take our whole textbook list and see if you can find suitable replacements? Physics wrote and said, yes, we'll save our students the $7,500, but really we're looking at introductory text for physics. So when we get back, our next job is to talk to OpenStax physics books and start talking to them about, looking for syllabi and matching to see what kind of content is in there. Now we're going to start seeing some big ROI, Marcus, I promise you there. The third one, physics had, there was another one, health sciences, so that they would run,
Yeah, that was Reed's group.
yeah, we're invited to talk to a department meeting, health sciences, and then social work asked us to look at all of their textbooks. And the big one was when we wrote, and this is where I almost cried. It took an hour and a half, and I'm like, I've got to make sure this is absolutely perfect, and it's like by then 6:30 at night, and I've written 40 of these in one day. We wrote to the head of the math department and CC'd everybody who was teaching differential equations and 4 or 5 other texts, and said that one class alone could save $400,000 in 1 year. And they wrote that, and some people, a full professor said, very interested, let's chat. We haven't had a chance to touch base with him. I did write him an email and say, if you're interested in this, maybe we can roll it out as a pilot, do 1 or 2 sections, survey the students, see how that's going. But then the department head wrote back and said exactly what you said. Number 2, we realized so much on the online component. I'm like, Dr. Lee, thank you for writing back. I totally understand. If you want to try something, we're here, but we're also working to get a faculty incentive program, and you're going to be the first people that we talk to. So what we tend to see is about $2,000 to $5,000 across the country for an individual faculty to transfer to an OER, and programs can get $10,000 to $25,000. And so we're kind of looking at that $2,000 per faculty member individually, and maybe $10,000. So they might adopt the calculus OpenStax book, but then they use the other time to write test banks or create those online materials. And that's where we're really going to see such a big change.
You guys have been doing it 3 years, this is right, all told, all 2 years. You've come a long way, especially with, especially with that renegotiation of the contract.
That's a huge
I love the approach. Zoom into a few courses, 57 courses, and talk to the instructors. I think that's the way to go.
And that's how we're going bottom up.
There are so many small courses, but it does not matter which textbook is being used. But we need to look at big courses.
That's why we like to model.
And when you say that, Marcus, too, I think that's the best scenario really illustrated to us. Those smaller courses that are so labor intensive and have so many copyright situations is not feasible for a variety of reasons. So to really look at more of those.
That's the cautionary tale for y'all.
Cautionary tale. So, but I think that's such a great point.
We filtered by enrollment. When we started looking at those 57 faculty members, we contacted the first one on the list, had 1,400 students in their class.
So, what's happening at FAU in this area? Ken tell you, Ken Franco, I asked him last year to sort of look at our top 25 enrolled courses and look at the textbooks and what it would cost us to buy 1 copy of those textbooks. And in addition, right now, I mentioned that we've got a different person in the provost's office who's going to be taking over this issue here. And she, on her own, found what UNF was doing, what UNF had advertised back in December of 2016 with buying a copy of the textbooks. So she's really behind that idea. So I think we have a great potential for replicating the type of process that you put in place here, although I don't know anybody who's going to be writing those individualized emails. I see that coming out of the provost's office. And the provost is behind it. Instead, I see that type of approach to encourage faculty and incentivize faculty and department chairs.
We gave them
make
easy
these
proxy
decisions.
Links, everything was right in there. And Aimee said that she was meeting with PAD, public administration faculty, just earlier this week, and they said this email, and I was like, oh, I'm so gratified because we're so interested in this. So
even, that's like one of those, it's also like an outreach marketing campaign to the faculty as well. This is getting the discussion started at a broader level.
And I just wanted to add really quickly, what I like about your programs, you talk about the outreach, and we said this at lunch, you have the library liaisons and you have your instructional designers that have these relationships, these trust relationships that are working with these faculty. And I thought that seemed to be a really good advantage.
And I think it's such an instrumental partnership between the two because we all know this is.
One question was, I mean, I knew you guys said it started with the grassroots, grass up, and so that's great, and because, it does get a lot of support, but sooner or later, it cuts off because you can only go so high. I'm curious what kind of positive feedback from your president and provost, because obviously you're looking at general ed classes, your lower level classes, the larger classes, as Marcus said. And since we know it's all tied to the matrix as far as student, going through the system 4 years and done, lowering their costs, sooner or later it's got to come to the point where the president and the provost, says, okay, I see what you've done, and we're going to adopt this. And and sometimes, I know faculty don't always like to hear that, but I mean, if you're driven based on funding from the state to get these students graduated and out at a cheaper rate to benefit them, and you get to that point where you just have to make that decision. I'm just curious, has your president
That happens to take us to the next slide. Oh, look at that, Larry. It's an excellent segue. But one thing I want to say, and just very broadly, I think Elijah Scott, if y'all know him, FLBC, so this is one area where the libraries can really and be leaders in the field to help facilitate these conversations with the faculty through higher ed, through your university administration and whatever. But you've got to, in conversations with our director, to us, it's almost like proof of concept. Look what we've done. But I'll sit there and say things that are coming to me are sitting there for 2 or 3 months before I can get to them. This isn't in my job, and I've got 2 or 3 other huge projects going on. We need resources, we need staff, we need money. But yet, but that $400,000 potential with differential equations, much less calculus, if we could give the faculty $25,000 to do that, how can you not? So if it's a priority in your library, I'd really look internally and see what resources you already have, but what you need to do this. Because we're stretched so thin right now. People talk about another deck project. I start like,
I think we also
crying. I was like, I used to go home and curl up in the fetal position. After working out, I curl up in the fetal position with a bottle of wine.
Part of the last 2 years was spent trying to get access to the bookstore list in a way that we could actually do the analysis. Because if you don't have that list, you can't run the analysis efficiently.
And
So we're finally there.
Yeah. And to directly answer the question, basically, it hasn't hit critical mass at our institution. It hasn't. It's almost there, but
we just missed, I think, getting in this year's the report that was just on textbook affordability. This wasn't incorporated in for this year.
Yeah.
We expect it should be in next year's.
So we have ongoing communication with not necessarily our provost, but that's on the next slide, I forgot. But we are with the Associate Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, and she's the one that has to write that report and all that. She wants to pull together, she's busy too, she wants a task force. We've talked to Faculty Senate, we're getting buy-in from them. They're very interested in it. They want to propose a Faculty Senate resolution. Somebody, political, that's an OA.
That's OA, yeah.
And then we'll run through these real quick and then go on to the provost thing, institutional effectiveness metric for performance-based funding. So Aimee was talking about some survey research. We're complementing that with quantitative studies. So we went and we're taking Beck, Lori, and Clark and looking at student performance before and after, persistence, time to graduate, number of credit hours, drop rate, and all that. And so they're very interested in it. And of course, I ran over and talked to that vice provost, Paige Borden, and says, look, we have potential, because our provost has said, if you can save 40 students at the end of the freshman year, if you can get them to return, that results in millions of dollars in PBF funding.
For us, it's 13 students equals 1 percentage point.
Yeah,
in the PBF funding.
Right. And so there's so many opportunities to, to do this. They're looking at everything that might just bump that up just a touch. That's why they're interested. Some other things we've done, and we talked about all that. We're also, we mentioned that too, we're identifying items that the library can purchase, DRM-free, unlimited users, and you asked about.
John's our rep on the statewide task force. We've got a Spark, we're a Spark member. We have an OER Connect platform profile.
Would you too?
There's a little bit in there.
Yeah, those are great, you guys. OER Connect, man, I'm already using it. This is what everybody else is doing.
And then we applied to, they nominated me, I applied on the Open Ed Group OER Research Fellow. So we're doing presentations on that, and we're going to leverage some more of our research into more national.
You talked about a statewide task force. I've also seen that website, Orange Tree. It's supposed to be more is that a viable source? Anything?
It is right now, and they're looking at different ones and
Are they getting money
enhancing
to
it.
redo it because it's been around for so long? And I've heard that they're going to upgrade.
Discussion.
Yeah, there's been just.
That's part of what they're looking at for the implementation of the statewide database is bring that into the new,
That's what I heard. Yeah.
the statewide ILS that's where the Sierra system that we're a year off there, I guess, for implementation. But that is supposed to be part of that to bring Orange Grove content into that as well.
So at the state level, because I was just at the meeting, we're about ready to put together the proposal. We're putting together an LRB, from the online planning committee, implementation committee. And in that is this component about OER. We had an extensive discussion about whether we would adopt Orange Grove or not. One of the concerns is Orange Grove also goes to K-12.
Yeah.
So there is often university material that's not appropriate for that level or even for college level that there's some. So I believe at our last discussion, we have decided that we will create our own university level OER system. Whether it's going to be adopting one, and one of the thoughts is to adopt something that connects easily with Canvas. So they will have, we haven't selected anything, but that is where the UF provost was very adamant that we needed to not use the Orange Grove. So there will be a platform put together that's not, will be a university level one. We are trying to also get money to support possible mini grants across the state.
That would be great.
So those are the kind of the ideas from that real high level. It didn't want too much misinformation starting to float around.
And then this is where we are looking on now, and looking forward to, and this gets back to your question, Larry. We're writing a small white paper for the provost. We had the president and our vice provost for IT&R say that they would take it to him because he was absent one day. We thought we had a corner. We've done enough now, and at the end of it, it's going to be like, here's the environment, here's the outcomes that we've seen, here's what we've done so far, and here's how you can be involved. Choose 2 of the 5. And it could be a forward-facing website. It could be money for reserves. Oh, do we have a lot of these?
And then the bottom one, of course.
Right. Yeah. Resources and support.
Got a question over here.
Yeah. Okay.
Alexis also wants to know, why not just use their IRs?
The institutional.
Librarian from Indian River Community College. So you're talking to librarians.
We're certainly still utilizing our IR to promote scholarship, and we obviously want to put open content into our IR. But I think looking at creative ways to engage our faculty and to make them more aware and to incentivize them to utilize OER in general, whether it's in Canvas, whether it's visible in the IR. But I think as we look at textbook portability more broadly, it's not just things that would be appropriate for the IR. The other content.
Plus, I don't know if that stemmed also from the Orange Grove discussion. Looking at a statewide platform as well. Yeah.
There's a question.
He says to keep colleges involved with OER repositories too, and are all universities on campus?
The state's on campus. We're all on campus for the state.
It's an opt-in program.
Right now, the only one who's not on
Canvas is FIU. And then they are currently.
We've got 2 online divisions. We can't even figure out who does your course. If you're a fully online faculty, you go talk to FIU Online. If you're a hybrid course, you go talk to Educational Technology Services. So we don't even have one branch for online. So we're a little
Right,
confused.
so I believe you are undergoing right now,
They're supposed to be converting.
I think, well, you're
Part of them.
right, I think what they're doing is looking at the 2 platforms right now. And then from that piece. I also want to come back and address what is happening over in the provost office. So I was asked, and Dean Hickson was also asked, to do a presentation for our SWAT committee, and knowing that it could possibly impact our matrix. So it is brought to them. Also, I've been working with Dr. Aimee on this particular topic because it's very important because of the implementation, 2025 implementation plan, which I'm a part of. And we are going to be having some high-level discussions very soon in the provost office. We had as Dean Hickson mentioned, there's a change in leadership there. And so it's been moved under Michelle, Dr. Hawkins. So I believe with that, I have known Dr. Hawkins for 4 years, and when she decides something's going to get done, it is going to get done. That's correct. So it will get done. So I think you're going to see high level, and you're going to see, and I also like to make sure, because I don't think people are aware of how much OER is occurring here that has been ground up. Thanks to faculty like Marcus who are already on board and have been working very hard with that. We actually have one of our online degree programs that's 1 textbook short of being 100% OER. So with that, we're going to be looking at how can we badge. I really love your badging.
And how, because the state's going to be asking for that. So when you go into the campus has contains a catalog of
all courses that are offered across the state. And one of the things we're going to be asked is this an OER course? And they're going to allow OER courses to a student to go in and search based just on OER. So there is a lot of momentum behind this, and it's not something you can look away from. So that way you have some.
I think that's actually perfect. And I think that if you come back in 1 year, if we all got together again, you're going to see some dramatically different,
I think we are.
results. Dollars saved, programs started, provost involvement, faculty successes.
Another advantage to the badge program, besides the badge, is that it has given a place for faculty to submit when they're using lower cost alternatives, which then gives us a piece to report in that textbook affordability, so that affordability counts is actually a piece of that, as are our library reserves. So we don't tell them, we can't say for sure what that cost impact, we don't put a number to it, but we say we have X number of reserves and X number of students have checked them out. So we do make sure that gets into that report, because we do have that that line to the provost's office for it.
One of the things we want to do is to analyze the textbook list for courses where there is no textbook assigned, to determine the content to find out what are you using. If you're not using a textbook, are you using something that's open education? So we start to identify where things are actually already happening on campus that we don't know about.
You haven't done that yet to see what people are doing already?
We're doing it now. We have
curious too.
1,389 blanks for faculty to not adopt something. And so right now that list is with the staff member who's looking at emails of all those faculty. And then we'll just do a quick survey, send them an email. We saw that you didn't adopt. Can you tell us, are you using anything? Are you using an open book? Are you using a library book? Are you using your own notes? Or what? So then we'll start.
Is that list graduate and undergraduate?
Yes.
Yep, it's the entire university.
That's another
project that's moving along at a snail's pace.
I'm also curious, I mean, have you come across any, say, faculty who are using, or the institution has used their particular textbook as they've written it? They're willing or to go to an OER paper for the students, or any blowback because they didn't want to relinquish their textbook and use a cheaper model?
We have been, during our faculty development process, for the spring, one of the things that we skipped over, we did a course innovation project with the Faculty Center for Machine Learning. So this was the first time faculty on our campus were incentivized to not even, adopt on a whole book, just learn about it and then take one small piece of your course to do that. But a faculty member said, in this department, there is a political aspect to it. Just as Marcus was saying, there is a political aspect to it where the faculty member did write the book and everybody uses the book because that faculty member wrote it. So this person didn't want to rock the boat.
And even though they're not allowed to
Receive the,
personally, the sales of that quite often go into the department and fund travel and stuff like that. So that's what happens here. Yeah.
right,
That's
so it's,
that's a hard thing to.
that's a,
Yeah.
Some cases.
It's 3:05. I'm gonna get these guys on the road because we're very conscious of rush hour, going back up to Orlando. And I was thinking, we'll give it 3. It's fine, but you're gonna get rush hour around Orlando. It's the worst.
We're used to it. We do that every day.
Now's your time. Any other questions as we wrap this up? And I do my thank you. Thank you. Okay, wait, one more.
So one super quick question. All the analysis that you all were doing in particular, have you made any of the tools or procedures that you use for that analysis available anywhere?
no, everyth's been, the surveys themselves, we haven't put them out there yet.
I'm happy to share if you're interested. Anyone's interested in the survey itself, send me an email, Aimee. I'm happy to share it. We've incorporated some of the results in a book chapter so far, but I didn't include that in the survey itself. So I'm very happy to share.
GOA also, Open Ed has, it's called COOP, C-O-U-P assessments for tracking textbook affordability, OER adoptions. C's cost, so it's like what you saw here, this group paid $43,000. O's outcomes, that's the student outcomes that we're looking at more quantitatively, the GPA and stuff. Use is usage, and they said there's very little research spent on that, how the students perceive and actually use those items compared to traditional texts. And the fourth one's perceptions, and I think that would be more like that sort of research, yeah. So that's kind of it's a great text. It's 20 pages.
And also there's a great resources. The Florida Virtual Campus releases the report, the 2016 report. They asked 10 questions.
Yeah.
And it's all state college. They did the analysis with state colleges and universities, and we wanted.
It's a nationally referenced survey.
Yes,
too.
it is. It's a very powerful piece to circulate around campus, and it validates our results that we find on our campus as well. We have one more question.
Oh, you all mentioned that you did something as a book chapter. Have you done any other publications?
A lot of presentations. Did Charleston Conference, got the Anaheim coming up, the poster session.
We did our FDLA. We did our bookstore contract.
Oh, that's
one.
right. Yeah, we did.
We wrote the paper on that one.
The analysis on the contracts in the state. We published that.
I hope you get to look at it, yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering where I was like, I can't just publish this.
It's stars.
It's like,
Yeah, a lot of our stuff, like our presentations, you can find out.
Stars, it's an institutional repository.
One chapter is what forthcoming this fall.
And I'm sure we'll be doing some journal articles and other things.
Yep.
As we're up to.
If you have questions, though, we're always available.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be available after you were recording it or something.
Did we record this? Did we say? Yeah. Yeah, well, we did. You guys were, sure, we recorded it anyway. But if you could, send it. Yeah.
And we're going and I just wanted to let you know, expect you're going to be vlogged. You'll be on our Facebook.
Sure.
So, yeah, Yeah, so you'll have we're gonna drive some attention to you. So I will send you the blog link so you can share it with them. So you can share it.
Great. That'd be great.
Yeah.
You should.
I, for one, thank you so much. It's nothing like having your colleagues here and to really, digest this and talk to you one-on-one. And I'm glad we had a nice intimate group. It was informal, right?
Yeah.
It was informal, I promise. Learned so much. Learned so much. I mean, I've been trying, I remember the first FCLA regional conference down here. This was mentioned a couple of years ago, and I was, what are you doing? What are they doing? So thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much
all.
for the invite as well.